And welcome. We are here for Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. Because when we tap into the song of our heart, this is the place where we master the mind and the stress that steals our life. I am so happy that you are with me today. Today is going to be a fun day because we are going to talk about one of my all-time favorite books. One of my all-time favorite books by Mark David. And, in this place of Ashley's Heart Song, it is about living according to our highest goal, our reason for being, why we're here. It's that melody that lives within us. And when I found myself in that place of angst around food and just all the disordered eating and the struggle with that, this one book really helped me to see things in a whole new light. And so I want to share that with you because if you are struggling with food, if you're struggling with anything else in your life, this perception, this perspective of the way that we view ourselves and our body inside of us doing life just made all the difference in the world. So I'm going to share that with you in a little bit. But before we do this, let's check in with our vitality score this week. So vitality wise, where do you feel physically on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being physically, you have all the energy you could ever desire in your life. It is just so good. That's a 10. Or maybe you're really struggling and you're in the muck of it with strength. You just have no strength. You are weak and just fatigued. That would be closer to a 1. And then we move into the vitality score for the mental body of you. Mentally, where do you feel today? Are you spot on point, and mentally clear? You're about a 10 or close to it. If you are feeling very foggy and thinking, mentally stressed and fatigued, then you're going to be anywhere from that 1 to a 5. Then on the vitality scale, we have emotional balance. Where are you emotionally today with your vitality? Emotionally, do you feel just light and easy and fun-loving and fulfilled? Or do you feel moody and, I don't know, just that's going to be closer to that 1. Write your score down. Remember, you can have a high score of 40. We got one more category, the spiritual health of you. Spiritually, where are you today? Are you connected and aligned? Or do you feel like you woke up on the opposite side of the bed and you've been wearing the shoe on the wrong foot? Where are you today? Are you a 10 where you're in alignment and connected? Or are you disconnected and disjointed? That would be a 1. All right, add up your score. And this is not a place of judgment. This is just a place for us to view how are we doing? Where are our thoughts? Where's our emotions? Where am I physically? How am I nourishing myself? Am I doing it in a way that is fulfilling? Look at all of it in order to enhance your vitality. All right. Now that we have that score down, let's get started on this one fun little, I guess it could kind of be called a book review. I don't know. But it is this book, Nourishing Wisdom. Nourishing Wisdom by Mark David. As you can tell, it is one of my favorites. I have dog-eared, and if you look inside of it, it is just like highlighted and lambasted. I think I love to write my books when I see things that really stand out for me. But I think I did the most in this book, other than in my Bible. My Bible will look like this too, but this book it saved me in my perspective of food and who I was as an eater. Because, at the time I was lost. I was scared. I was at a point where I could only eat about 10 foods where I felt safe, like I wasn't going to die. And I had made food my enemy. I was feeling weak and lethargic, and my body hurt all over. I had been a power lifter and was muscled up, and I had lost about 20, 25 pounds of muscle, y'all. I mean, I had just dropped that weight and I was cannibalizing. It was a very difficult time for me emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And when I look back on that time and how I got so lost, do you ever feel that way? That you don't know what happened? You took a left turn and all of a sudden you found yourself out in the middle of nowhere, lost and confused and not knowing what direction to go and what felt safe, what felt secure. And I mean, it's mind blowing, isn't it? How we can find ourselves in that place of just lost, alone. And that's where I felt. I felt very alone with food in my body. I felt very alone in the struggle that no one understood. No one could help me. No one knew what I was going through. No one knew the depth of pain that I was living in. And that was scary. It was scary to even think that no one could understand or communicate with me about it because they didn't see the depth of it and where it came from. It was just like, would you just eat? Come on. Oh, good grief. Just eat the food. No, it wasn't like that. There was terror, pure terror in putting a morsel of food in my mouth. So when I came upon this book and Mark David's work in the psychology of eating, I was blown away. I thought, oh my gosh, yes, this is it for me. I can finally cure myself. Well, after several months, I realized I couldn't cure myself. And so I did call the Institute for the Psychology of Eating and requested a coach that I could work with through them. And that, oh, changed my world. Her name is Cynthia Stodd, and I love her. She is with Eat Empowered Wellness. And I will one day have her on this show. She will be a fantastic guest. But she really helped me to see my way through that jungle of fear. And this book that I want to talk about today is great. One of the quotes that I loved that really stood out for me when I was getting ready for today's show was, no substance is inherently bad or evil. It is the way we use a substance that determines its value. And when I look back on my relationship with food and what had transpired prior to me becoming so scared of it, food was one of those things for me where I knew as a personal fitness trainer how I needed to eat and how I was supposed to eat. But for some reason, I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I rejected that, by golly. I wanted to eat anything I wanted, and Katie barred the door. But I was also in hiding around that. And I had been in hiding with food since high school. I would closet eat. I remember one time I had this math teacher, just loved him, Coach Gibson, and he loved plain M&Ms. And so I bought a pound bag of M&Ms for him and a small pack of M&Ms for me. I thought, I'm just going to have a small pack. Well, guess what happened? That night in my bedroom, I dug into the pound bag M&Ms and gave my coach the little pack of M&Ms. I mean, I thought that was just not nice of me at all, at all. But that's where I was. And I would over exercise after eating through that bag. It probably took me 2 days to eat through that pound bag of M&Ms. I would just go and run and try to get it off. I saw eating and exercise as good and bad. I was either good girl or I was a bad girl. And that war right there with that food transpired and transposed itself into this place of having an enemy. That food was my enemy. And if I didn't eat pure, if I didn't eat clean, if I didn't eat right and holistic, then the food was going to hurt me. But it even got down to where foods that were clean and pure, I was terrified to eat. It just kept going on and on. It doesn't stop. Fear doesn't stop, y'all. It just snowballs. So once you start to fear something, get a handle on it, meaning resolve it, because that fear will only grow and expand and get bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger. I mean, to me, it reminds me of VeggieTales on the big fib and how that little bitty lie gets into this huge fig, big fib guy. Anyway, I can't remember. Was it a fig? I think he did turn into a fig. Anyway, whatever he was, he just turned enormous. It just kept growing and growing. Well, that's what fear does. Fear grows and grows and grows and grows. And all of a sudden, that's all you are, is that fear. That's all you are. So I want you to close your eyes for a second before we get started in this. Close your eyes and imagine that you're free. Imagine that you are free from limitations with food, judgments around food. Imagine that you're free from that dieting thought. You're free from any body image issues that you have or any body hates that you have. You're free from it. Just imagine you being free. And I know that this can be a little challenging sometimes to imagine not being linked to any fear, but just imagine for a second, if you can, that there is no fear. No fear that holds you back in anything in your life. You're free. How does it feel in your body? How's that feel? How does it feel to feel that openness? Feels light, doesn't it? It feels so good. Light and like you can do anything. Be anyone, be anywhere. When we step into that feeling of freedom, that is something that we can take with us wherever we go. No matter what we're doing, we can take ourselves into that place. This book, Nourishing Wisdom, gives 4 different, I guess we could call elements, key elements. One is a holistic perspective. The other is a nutritional awareness. Another gives you an opportunity for personal growth. And another is body psychology. And I want to just touch on a few points in each one of those categories today on this show. You know, when we look at this holistic approach to health and holistic approach to eating, it's not just about the physical sustenance for ourselves. It's about the emotional and spiritual nourishment as well. You know that old saying, you are what you eat? What if you eat what you are? Think about that for a minute. Instead of you are what you eat, what if it was really you eat what you are? That's pretty powerful. The next time you go to eat something, look at it from that perspective. You eat what you are. So, who am I? The questions we need to be asking ourselves is not what do I eat, but who am I? Why am I here? What is the ultimate purpose and feeling for my body? If you ask yourself that question before you eat, what is the ultimate purpose of feeling in my body? What is that? Then you're going to eat totally differently than if you just go, I'm hungry. What do I want to eat? Guess what's going to answer? Your mind. Your mind, the one that has all of those preconceived beliefs around food, is going to choose what to eat based off of your current mood. But when we ask, what is that ultimate purpose of feeling in my body that I want? Then you're going to eat completely differently. No matter how healthy your diet is, An unhealthy mood radically depreciates the nutritional value of whatever it is that you eat. You are literally having less ability to digest. You're creating an environment that has less ability to digest food when your mind is improperly digesting life. So, if you want to take this a holistic approach to your eating, then take a look at your emotional health, which was one of our vitality score components today. How are you feeling when you go to eat? How are you feeling mood wise? Notice that, and it will, I promise you, it will impact what foods you choose to eat and how much you eat and how that meal is digested. So, if we're going to look at our moods, oh my gosh, and us women, my goodness, we women have some moods, don't we? And if we go and eat when we are in one of those moods, we might, and it's a healthy meal. I mean, imagine it's the most healthy meal. It's kale and garbanzo beans and one of our favorite meals here. And what if it's something like that that you just love so much, but you're in a mood and you go to eat that meal in that mood? You're not going to digest that meal as a healthy meal. You might as well have had a chocolate cake. It's truly fascinating to understand that our moods directly determine the digestibility and assimilation factor of the meal that we eat. It's your mood. It's not the food. Imagine that. I'm going to say that again. It's so powerful. It's not the food that determines the digestibility and the assimilation process of that food. It's your mood. So if you're being moody, don't eat. Don't eat. So we're looking at this ability to digest foods in a healthy way, depending on our mood. We can also look at how we're viewing the food as good or bad. If you perceive a food as bad, then you're bad for eating it. If you perceive a food as good, you're good for eating it. It's kind of like how I was sharing with you in my story that I felt like I could only eat clean foods. Otherwise, it was going to hurt me. Food was the enemy for me. I saw good food and I saw bad food. And pretty soon that good food turned bad for me. The fear just keeps growing. So in this, we want to look at food and the role of food in our life. We want to look at it as nourishment, not a place of conflict. Y'all, food is just food. It's an inanimate. It's live. It's not inanimate. Um, it's an object, right? It doesn't have a conscious. It's not bad. It has not morally reprehensible. It's just food. And it can be medicine for your body when we begin to see it as nourishment versus conflict. So my question for you is, when you go to eat, do you eat for nourishment? Or do you eat just because the clock says it's time to? Um, Maybe you're having signs that you're hungry, but your stomach, your gut brain isn't growling yet. Maybe you just pick up the first thing that comes to mind. Do you truly pause? Do you ever pause and check in to be guided by the body to tell you what would be most nourishing? This whole idea seemed, when I realized it, when I picked up this book and I began working with this was that it was on a spiritual plane. We are spiritual beings, and our relationship with food is very sensual and it's very spiritual. And when we can cross over from the physical plane of it and thinking, oh, I calories in, calories out, I can only have this many grams of this, I can never eat sugar again. When we look at it like that, it's very physical and it's very, I don't know, degrading and just not fun. But when we can look at the sensuality of it and the spiritual nature of eating, the spiritual nature of nourishment, it brings a whole new light to food. In Nourishing Wisdom, the book, Mark David also brings up that it's a great place for personal growth. And boy, I think I did most of my personal growth during this time. This was a time when I found trust in myself, that I could trust myself. I wasn't lost. I wasn't leading me down a rabbit hole of and never being able to see the light again. I could trust myself and I could trust life. Most importantly for me, I could trust God. It's a huge personal growth journey through food. When we look at the way, and he states this in the book, that the way we do food is directly reflected in the way we do life. So the way you're living your life is a mirror for the way you are living with food. It's a mirror. If you are closet eating, you're avoiding something in your life. You're avoiding something within you. You're not taking action on something. If you're craving sweets, then you have most likely restricted pleasure from your life. Fun. So what is your food life calling you to up level in your life? Where is it calling you to grow? We can learn so much about ourselves from food, from the way we are with it, what we choose. You can learn a lot about yourself and what you're avoiding in your life if you just take a look at your food life. In the realm of the body psychology aspect of it that Mark David brings up in his book, it's about understanding how our bodies respond to food and its impact on overall well-being. I believe this is one point that is eliminated by most dieting gurus and most people for that matter. But the body's innate wisdom is waiting in a stress-filled state for you to relax so it can metabolize in a friendly way. So I spoke earlier about our moods. Our mood determined how well our body digests and assimilated the food. That mood creates a stress-filled response in your body. And if you are in that stress-filled response, then that is where you are not digesting and assimilating. Your body's innate wisdom is crying out for you just to chill for a sec. Take a breather, take a beat, breathe and relax and bring that body back into a place of joy, a place of pleasure, a place of satisfaction, a place of love, a place of peace. Be in that resonance so you can digest, assimilate, and eliminate the meal as it is intended. Again, this book that we spoke about today, Nourishing Wisdom by Mark David, there was a quote I wanted to read you that that pertains to this stressed and relaxed. The healthiest food may prove unhealthy if the motivation for eating them is based on fear of disease rather than the love of life. So the next time you pick up that forbidden food, quote unquote, the next time you pick up that forbidden food, remind yourself that you're a lover of life. You're not here to fear life, to fear dis-ease in the body. You're here to be a creator, to be a lover of life. So enjoy that forbidden food with pleasure, satisfaction, and just completely digest it with ease. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me for this message today on Ashley's Heart Song. I look forward to seeing you next week as we continue to armor up our lives. See you then.